Welcome to Thinking Maps. This is going to be a review and application. So let's get started. First thing to tell you is my name is Tori Cochran. For those of you that have been here for a while, you already know me. For those of you that haven't, this is my 17th year here at Reno Elementary. I have two children, Kat and Scotty. Kat is 18 and just graduated high school, and Scotty is 16 and will be a junior. I've also been married to that funny looking little man right there for almost 20 years. It's been 19. So let's get started on thinking maps. First of all, let's talk about our agenda. Today we're going to talk about why we should use thinking maps, as well as what does each map represent, and then we're going to actually practice with all the maps. So make sure that you have in front of you some paper and a pencil. I'm going to be doing some things in color. You do not have to do that. I just want you to realize it's something you can do with your class. But for your purposes, a pencil and some paper is just fine. So let's get started. Okay, so the reason for using thinking maps, one of the first reasons is because it is visual patterns. It focuses not just on a visual like a graphic organizer normally would, but it focuses on the actual pattern for it. So teachers have used visuals for years, and while thinking maps are visuals, the main difference is that the 8 maps that we use are a consistent set of visuals that all teachers can use, and you can use them from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And that causes the maps to become a visual pattern that the brain recognizes and remembers. Now, another thing we want to focus on is that it does address 8 cognitive skills. And those skills are things that we use and work on with our children quite a bit. As you can see, our critical thinking skills are define and brainstorm, describe, compare, contrast, classify or identify main ideas and details, identify whole to part relationships, sequence, analyze cause and effect, and see analogies. These are very important critical skills that our children need and that many of them have a deficit in. This is an excellent way to show them how to think that way. Another great thing about thinking maps is that it can be used by all teachers. It can be used by everybody from your kindergarten PE teacher to your senior level chemistry teacher. These are simply visual ways to show thinking. So you can use the same 8 maps, and if we do that, that consistency promotes student-centered cooperative learning, concept development, reflective thinking, creativity, clarity of communication, and continuous cognitive development. Now, the thing about thinking maps that I love, and because I co-teach in 3rd grade, I went through all of math, science, social studies, and language arts last year, and we use thinking maps in every single subject. They are together, can be used as tools in response to the purpose of a learning objective, outcome, or performance task, and they are very effective. When students move from subject to subject, they can apply the same set of thinking maps for cognition in all areas. For example, events in a story, life cycles, mathematical processes, creativity. Once again, you have that clarity of communication and continuous cognitive development. Now, a good thing once you've gotten used to using thinking maps is to use them in combination. We're not going to practice with that today, but that is something that if you're interested in, I'd be glad to sit down and spend some time with you on how you can combine different maps to create even more in-depth problem solving. And so it can help students develop the skills they need to solve problems, do in-depth research, take notes, communicate their ideas, all the things that we know our kids struggle with. So really quickly, I know that's really small. I'm not going to make you go over it or think about it. All I want you to know is that this right here is your frame of reference information, and it's on the Teacher's Guide, page 73. If you do not have a thinking map binder for teachers, let me know and I'll get you a copy of this page. I'm going to show you an easier way to look at it though. An easier way to look at it is this. There are 3 main parts of our frame of reference, and the frame of reference is what goes around the map. So we have 2 colors we have to worry about, red and green. The top left, red, is what is the main idea of your map. So what is this map about? The bottom right is why is it important? Why do we care? Those are the two main things that you need to make sure that your kids are doing, because it will create information for them to hang information off of as they go through this map. What am I doing and why does it matter? The other thing you can use, which is something we've used in class, is where? Where did you get your information from? For example, we did a circle map on all about letters. And I asked the kids, how did you know about this? I got answers of my grandma, my mom, Mrs. Pearson, just different. And so we listed all those in green on the top right. That's where you put your where. So this will come back and we'll talk about it again later, but just realize it's the frame of reference and it goes around here. What, where, why? Okay. Now, let's talk about thinking maps are visual patterns based on 8 cognitive skills. Now, we already said that, right? Remember I mentioned the 8 cognitive skills? Surprisingly enough, all 8 cognitive skills match up to one map. And we're going to talk about those as we go. So let's talk about the circle map. Now, circle map is used for defining or brainstorming. You might ask the question, what's the definition of this? Or tell me everything you know about this. This is great things to use circle maps for. Anytime you are defining, brainstorming, listing, identifying, telling all about, kind of sounds like our Bloom stuff, right? Yeah, it all depends on the verb you are using. So let's practice with a circle map, okay? Let's say that the teacher has asked the children to tell all they know. Notice that tell all they know is in italics. That's because that's the most important part. Tell all they know about the number 15. Now, a circle map is an excellent way to brain dump information. Just get everything you know on there. So let's start with that. We know that the middle of our map is going to be the number 15, because that's what we're telling all that we know about. And they can put anything in here. They can do 10 plus 5. They can write the number 15. I know it's a number. I know it's between 14 and 16. Okay, take a few minutes and fill in some more things you know about the number 15. You can pause the video if you want, and when you're ready, start it back up. So, once you have all of your information of everything you know about 15, that is when you put the outside circle. You will notice as I do my thinking maps, I never ever draw the map before putting the information in, because then they draw tiny circles and try to fit it all in there. Let them write everything they know, brain dump, then draw the circle around it. Okay, so I have told the teacher this is everything I know about the number 15. And now she has said, okay, could you add a frame of reference for that? So, pardon me. Remember, a frame of reference goes around the outside of my map. So up here, this is our what. And so we're going to tell what this map is about. Give me 1 second, guys. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. I know that this is about the number 15 can be represented many ways. And that is exactly what my map shows. My map shows that 15 can be represented all these different ways, that all of these things are what 15 is. Then I want to talk about why. Why do I care about that? Well, for me, and I'm not going to write this because it's kind of hard to see way down here, but what I would say is understanding different ways to make 15 helps me visualize and gain a deeper understanding of that 15. If I can visualize all these different things, it helps me understand 15 better. And that's what I would put down here on my red. Okay, so let's keep going. If you go ahead and get your frame of reference on there, and you can put your why however you want. Just make it say something like, being able to visualize 15 different ways helps me to understand and gain deeper knowledge of 15. When you finished doing your frame of reference, go ahead and pause the video while you finish, and when you're finished, you can come back to us. And we're going to go ahead to bubble maps. Now, lots of people think a bubble map is what you use for everything. Strangely enough, bubble maps are very rarely used. They're pretty specific. They're only used to describe. That's it. They have, if you use something like, which word best describes blah, 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 and that could be a character or an item. I could say, what are the qualities of? And that could be a character or an item, whatever works. The things you need to remember are anytime you're using the word describe, characteristics, you have adjectives, you're talking about qualities or properties, that is your bubble map. That's your map that you use to describe things. So let's practice with a bubble map today. Today we're going to practice because we're saying the class has just finished reading Little Red Riding Hood, and the teacher has asked the students to describe Red's character in single words. Notice that those words are in italics because describe and her character means that we're probably going to have to use a bubble map for that. Now, we will add a frame of reference at the end, but I want you to realize that this map is not used as often as many of the others because the restriction of only using adjectives makes this a very specific type of map. So let's go ahead and make this map today. We know that the person we are describing is Little Red Riding Hood. So I'm going to put LRRH right in the middle. Oh, that marker doesn't work very good, does it? Let me get another one. Okay. And let's see. Some of the things I remember about Little Red Riding Hood is she was very impetuous. Oh, impetuous. Almost spelled that wrong. Okay. Notice that I write the word and then connect it. Don't let the kids draw the bubbles first or they think they have to have a specific amount. What you want is for them to be able to get as many as they can. We also know that Little Red Riding Hood was young. That she was, what did I use for that? She was observant part of the time, like whenever she was observing the wolf, but she was also unobservant sometimes, like when she didn't notice that that was a wolf. She also, another word I would use to describe her is malleable. She was very easy to manipulate. So notice that none of my words are things like she was a girl. It has to be adjectives in a bubble map. So don't forget those. Some things we can do for what is this? What is this? Well, this is Little Red Riding Hood had, let's see, how did I say that? Had a complicated character. She wasn't easy, was she? She had several different parts to her. So what is this about? This is about Little Red Riding Hood's complicated character. Why does it matter? Well, because identifying characteristics helps me gain a better understanding of a character and how and why she acts the way she does. So that would be my why down here. Go ahead and finish up your bubble map if you would like. You can pause the video if you need to and just come back to us when you're through. All right, so next we're going to talk about something called a brace map. A brace map, another way to say it, is a part to whole. Part to whole. So if you see, you start with the whole and it works down into the different parts. Some of the questions you might ask when you use one of these is, what are the parts of? Or how would you deconstruct or take apart something? Some specific verbs are parts of, structure, decompose, physical components. So let's practice with a tree map today. Tree map, we're going to talk about the tree map first. Tree map is for classifying main ideas and details. We use these a lot when we're having the kids take notes and so forth. Some of the questions you might ask is, which of the following is a detail about that? So then they have to figure out what details go with what ideas. Or a blank is a member of which of the following categories? Some important words you might see are classify, group or sort, categorize, related details or types of, kinds of. So we're going to practice with both of those maps today. We're going to start with a brace map. Now, one of the things you need to know is that I'm about to switch out of that. And I want you to see this. This is called American Places, American Ideals. and it is from the 3rd grade HMH program. The reason I have it up here is because we're going to use it for our brace map. So the teacher has asked that you create a brace map identifying the text and graphic features from this particular story. So with our brace map, because we're breaking down this story, we would start with the title, which is American Places, American Ideals. Now for me, I'm not going to write all that. I'm going to write AP and AI. And when I look at that, I see text features as well as graphic features. So what I did was create 2 different colors to be used for them to identify. For example, the text features are blue. So if I look up at the text features and I have them tell me, they might say things like highlighted words, titles. Let's see, what else do we see up there? Let me look over here. Let's see. Oh, there are labels on the map and headings. Those are all the text features that we can find. And then I might say, okay guys, what are some graphic features you see? Well, I see a map. I see icons. I see illustrations. So now I have taken this and broken it down into our different parts. Based off of this, you can then go in and break it down and say, okay, where are the titles at? Where are the headings? Why are the headings important? And so based off of that, the teacher has decided that we need to take notes on this. And she said, because our text features includes headings, we're going to use those headings to create the pieces of our tree map. So we started out with our title, American Places, American Ideals. And then what you would have the children do is write the title for each section. So see how there is the Lincoln Memorial, the White House, the Washington Monument. They would put those in here. Now, the next part is that the teacher asked for the kids to take notes for each monument on when the monument was made, who and what it honors, and what is in it. And so based off of that, the easiest way to do that is to color code. So as you can see, I took the Lincoln Memorial. The when is in pink. So as I go through, all of the whens for all of these would be pink. The what it recognizes is in orange, so that would be the same on all. And the what's inside of it is in purple. This is a good way to color code, so then they could put this information however they wanted. If they were to paraphrase, they could paraphrase just about the Lincoln Memorial, or they could paraphrase just about the dates. It all depends on how you want to use it, but color coding is a good way to help them be able to visually see, okay, the memorial, when, what's in it. Easy, quick way to do that. Okay. Let's go back over here. And let's see here. So we started out with our brace map for breaking down each of the text features. Then we went into our tree map that took notes based on each piece. So now, let's see here. We're going to talk about the flow map, which is what you use when you're sequencing. So, some questions you might ask of which of these steps comes first, or what are the stages of? We've used flow maps anywhere from how do you add and subtract to tell me the story. So what we're going to do today, let's look at some of our important words: sequence, stages, cycles, patterns, steps. Any of those lead to flow map. So the other map we're going to talk about when we do our flow map is called the double bubble map. Now, a double bubble map makes you think maybe it's just like the bubble map, but it's not. A double bubble map is two things being compared and contrasted. So we're not necessarily using adjectives the same as we were in the bubble map. Some questions that might ask are, how are blank and blank alike? Or how are they different? What is the most important difference? Or what are some ways they are similar? Some important words are compare and contrast, or similarities and differences. The good thing to realize about the bubble map as you're making it is to make sure it is equal. So let's talk about how we would make a double bubble map. This says the class has just finished reading The Three Little Pigs, and she's asked the students to do a couple of activities. First, she wants the children to retell the events of the story in order, so they'll be able to write a summary. Well, obviously the best map for telling the events of the story in order would be a flow map. But here's where you have to be careful. Don't allow the children to make it just a complete retell of the whole story. You have to help them find the important information. So instead of making you sit while I wrote this whole big long map out about the Three Little Pigs, I've gone ahead and made it. And I want you to notice that none of this is very specific. It says things like, Mom said, get out. First pig built house of straw. Second pig built house of sticks. Third pig built house of bricks. The wolf blew down houses 1 and 2 and ate the pigs. Then the wolf came for pig 3, but his house protected him, and pig 3 boiled and ate the wolf. I didn't have any extra details, and if you notice, when you come to the end, your flow map goes all the way back to the beginning so that it constantly flows left to right. It will never come down and go back the other way. That's very important. Always remember to return to the beginning and go left to right. So this would be a great flow map of what happened in the Three Little Pigs. So let's see, the teacher has asked the students now to compare and contrast or list the similarities and differences of the third wolf and the pig in the story. And so the best map, because we're doing similarities and differences, the best map would be a double bubble map. And we could probably even color code that. So let's talk about double bubble maps. This is one that sometimes the kids have a bit of a hard time with. So let's see, it says we're going to compare pig 3 and the wolf. So we need one on each side so that we can keep them separated and we can have space for what's the same and what's different. So we're going to put the things that are different in purple and the things that are the same in green. One thing I know about the pig that's different is that he's a pig, which means this guy over here is a wolf. Notice how I am keeping my two sides even. Whatever this is about, this should be about the same thing. Not always, but most of the time. Another thing I know about pig 3 is he was a nice guy. But I also know that the wolf was not. He was a mean guy. Let's talk about some similarities. One of the things I noticed about both of them was that they were very wily. Notice how I don't draw my map parts until after I have finished the writing. Don't forget, that's important. Okay, another thing I might say about them is that they were both hard workers. Neither one quit till they got what they wanted, right? Now, when the child wrote about this, they could say some differences are, and they have all the purple differences to go together. Some similarities are, and they have those in green. So color coding really helps with the visual of these thinking maps. Something to think about. Okay, so a multi-flow map. Now, a lot of our children struggle with cause and effect. Why? Think about those questions that we struggle with. Why did the character do this? Why did the character do that? Well, a multi-flow cause and effect map can be very helpful in figuring that out. So, this is what we need to know about a multi-flow map. Why did blah, blah, blah? So if you're asking why, or you're asking what are the benefits of, how did it help? Those are things you could use a multi-flow map for. Another thing to look at are words like causes and effects, consequences, benefits, why, outcomes. So let's practice with that multi-flow map. The class just finished reading The Boy Who Cried Wolf, and the teacher is asking the students to determine why the townspeople stopped believing the little boy. So we want to use a multi-flow map to show what led up to something that changed and what were the results. Okay, so let's visually organize that together. Let's see here. We know in the beginning some things that happened that led to, so the change it's talking about is they stopped believing him, right? That's what we want to know. Why did they stop believing him? Right? So to figure out why, we need to see what happened beforehand. Well, he lied, and that led to people stopping to believe him. He also laughed at the townspeople whenever they came to help him, which probably didn't make them feel very good. So that led into it. And he lied again. He didn't just lie once, he lied 2 or 3 times. So they stopped believing him. What were the consequences of that? This is our why. This would answer our question of why. But what were the consequences? What happened because of it? This is our so. That green doesn't work very good. Let me get another one. So, no one came to help. Was one consequence. That's kind of hard to see, isn't it, guys? Let me see if I can get that one. And another consequence was the wolf ate all the sheep. So he wasn't able to do his job because they didn't believe him. So this would be a good map to show why did they do it and what were the consequences of it. Multi-flow maps are excellent for teaching children why. It helps them see it in ways that they can't normally. Okay, let's talk about a bridge map. Now, I don't know how many times I have heard they don't understand analogies. Our children's vocabulary is low. Our children need more vocabulary. They have it. Okay, bridge maps, one of the best ways I can see to teach language, because it literally teaches them how does this relate to this, and let's make another relation based off of that. So it helps us see analogies and relationships. Some things you might hear, how are blank and blank related, or what is an analogy of. Some things that you might hear are relationship, analogy, metaphors, one-to-one correspondence. Bridge maps are amazing. Like I said, it's one of the most beneficial maps as far as I can tell because it visually represents those analogies and builds their vocabulary and their use of manipulating language. So we're going to create 3 bridge maps together. Okay. The first one is going to be a bridge map about color. This one could be used as far down as pre-K because you could say something like green is to grass, just like orange is to oranges. That's probably not a good one. Just like purple is to grapes. You could even do it for items in your room. You could do, you could even do it for something like, you could do the students in your class. Tom is to boy, just as Jalen is to girl, just like, okay, so this is how the bridge map works. Now let's do another one. Let's do a quote and a person. I don't know how many quotes I know right off the top of my head, so we're going to pretend. We're going to do keep on keeping on is to Mrs. Reeves, just like Teamwork makes the dream work is to Jenna. Just like I have a dream is to MLK. Notice how this is our relationship. That's what you teach them. Keep on keeping on is something Mrs. Reeves said. Therefore, these have to be something this person said. And it has to go on and on like that. Let's see, what was my other one? Animals. Animals are easy. You could do something as simple as you could do the ocean is to fish, as the forest is to deer, so forth, so that you could teach habitats. This is an excellent visual representation of all analogies. It gets kids playing with language, manipulating it, understanding how it relates to each other. In my opinion, one of the best maps we can use with our kids right now to increase their vocabulary and their language skills. Okay, so all of that to say, those are the 8 thinking maps. That's some practice with the 8 thinking maps. There's my email address. You guys know where I'm at. If you need anything, you have any questions, call me, contact me, let me know. If you want me to come in and talk to you about how I would use a thinking map in your classroom for specific things, whatever you need, that's what I want to be here for. Thanks, guys.